And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Week 6, Run the Steam Show. Kev, I think it's safe to say that while it's not what we hoped for, we did come back. What a week. Oh, my God.
A week like that, you don't even, I mean, as long as you don't go 1-6 like we did 2 weeks ago, you're just happy to be a fan. That honestly, and as we'll get to this week, the slate of games is going to be a slight letdown compared to last week. Like last week was just, it was electric from noon till midnight, you know.
I was at a birthday party, and everybody was like going to somebody's house before we were gonna go downtown, and I remember they had a smart TV, and I said, I just need a charger. And so I had my YouTube TV hooked up 4 screens at the house of the party, and I'm educating all these people on why this is the greatest sport, man. It was amazing. But yeah, Kev, we got a lot of storylines to cover. Do you want to just get right into it?
I think just jump into it, yeah.
All right. If I can figure out. Okay. Storyline we got to get into. Kev.
Penn State fans, turn off the video. We'll catch you next week.
No. Anybody who doesn't want to hear about like naughty stories, turn off now. Penn State fans, stay and watch because I need you to explain this to me. Okay. For those of you who don't know, and I'm going to try to explain this as best I can, Kevin, for our viewers, okay? Drew Allar, the quarterback for Penn State. And I did do some research. This is not Snapchat. This is not text messages. This is Instagram messaging. That's what this background is. He, how do I put this? He sent... No. I'm going to be friendly. But I will say, before I get into this, all I said to ChatGPT was blur out the inappropriate parts of this text, and it generated this image right here. So, Drew Allar, I guess, slides into the DMs of a lady who I'm going to assume...
Of the kid you see pictured on the screen.
No. Not, and again, everything we say here is allegedly or parody law. I want to make that clear. But, okay, so this conversation went, with a very mild conversation to a very abrupt invitation from Drew Allar to said female lady. Okay, now, this lady, all credit to her, she did say, wow, you move fast, but she left out the part where he moves fast on the football field, because that's not true at all. Yes, if you're a Penn State fan, I don't care. It's true, like, historical record. We'll get into it when we talk about
Tyler,
the recap.
To interrupt you, I thought he sent these messages right after Oregon scored in the second overtime.
Wait a minute. 6:21 p.m.
Yeah. So that would have been right at. So Oregon scores a touchdown to go ahead. He's texting this girl. That's why he threw that interception. He had to get the hell out of there. He had to go over to this lady's house, right? Is that?
You see, Kev, yes, I heard that would line up. I haven't heard that headline, but that makes me doubt if it's real. I'm not going to lie to you.
That was a joke on my part.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Sorry, continue.
But no, okay. The conversation ended with Drew Allar asking for a picture of this lovely female. I'm assuming she's lovely. All women are lovely. Asking for, and Drew Allar asked her for pictures in very gymnastic-esque poses, is how I'll put that. The kind of, and the best part of this conversation, Kev, the girl responds back with, "How TF would I even take that picture?" And I'm thinking to myself, fair question. But yeah, so Drew Allar, man, focus on the field before you focus on the girls, man. Look, and also, you're the starting quarterback for Penn State. Do you not think this is going to end up on social media? Come on, man.
Learn from Ryan Willis, dude. That's all I'll say. as a proud Hokie fan, learn from Ryan Willis. And let's go on to our next storyline, shall we?
Let's talk about the recap here, folks. Okay, look, Kev, you said it first. I'm gonna give it to you, but just reiterate. Wow, what a weekend! Why don't you take 1 point and we'll bounce back off each other? Okay.
Okay. So yeah, top of the headline, 34-3, I believe, was the final score with Duke whooping up on Syracuse a week after Syracuse beat Clemson. Now, you'd think it looks really bad for Clemson. To be fair, Syracuse's starting quarterback out for the season, but
yep,
still an impressive win for Duke. I believe they travel to Cal this week. So,
yep, and that's going to be, if I remember it correctly, I didn't include it, but it is the 10:30 West Coast game on Saturday. So if you can't sleep, it's the perfect game to watch.
At 12
Duke
after night.
Definitely. Yeah, dude, definitely. Dude, Kev. Oh, Pac-12. Kev, did you watch any of that game?
The LSU one, yeah, LSU Ole Miss. That was the game I was watching in the 3:30.
You and I were texting back and forth, Kev. Like, at a certain point, if you're the ref, like,
just hold it.
Right? Yeah, like that became unwatchable by the end of the first half. It was a little bit more impressive in the second half. I think nothing shocked me more than hearing that Whit Weeks has two brothers, ladies, both also on the LSU football team on the defensive side. Hell, if either of them is single, I mean, I'll be a Cougar. I don't care. But that being said, no, it was the second half was good. It was a very defensive game. I think Ole Miss proved themselves, and I think it's justified that they're now number 4 in overall. I think, is it too bold to say SEC championship for Ole Miss? You think?
I mean, I would say they are.
Go against?
I mean, I would say it's Ole Miss, Bama, Georgia, kind of at least in my head.
Oklahoma squeezed in there. John Mateer can get back on the field. Yeah.
We'll have to look at what head-to-heads between those 4 occur.
A&M. There's another one we got to think about. Yeah. Missouri turning some heads. Yeah. It's SEC is becoming more wide open. I'd say okay. SEC is definitely middle of the pack after this weekend. Definitely, and they're very competitive. I'd say there's a distance between the top of the SEC and the top of like FBS schools. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Oh,
wait. Kev, I'm going to take this one.
You're going to steal
Forest. I'm going to steal, and then you'll get Illinois. Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, man. I watched that game just because I want to watch Georgia Tech. My bet, which was in the vibe check parlay, didn't hit early on, but I kept watching because that was an instant classic. It went into overtime. Wake Forest only lost because, they had that, they went for the 2-point conversion before they even needed to. They did it in the second.
That's the only reason why Wake Forest lost? That's the only reason why they lost? There wasn't any like missed calls?
Maybe
there wasn't a missed offsides call that if the refs had gotten it right, the game would have ended before overtime and Wake Forest would have won.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Sorry.
You're so right.
As a fellow ref hater, we just got done ragging on the refs for the game before where they were on track to set the record for the most penalties
that would have been cool, dude.
Game. To then this one, which I guess happened before technically, but still.
Right.
Nonetheless, it was a blown call that, I mean, I'm glad I'm not Wake Forest fan because I get very upset when the refs do something.
But look, it's Jake Dickert's first year as head coach, coming from Wazoo over there in Wake Forest. I liked what I saw from their team. I think they're in that beginning stages of like starting to peek their head around the corner. Like Wake Forest right now is where Georgia Tech was 2 seasons ago. I would say that.
It is. Yeah. It's just a shame that this upcoming weekend, Wake Forest, whose name I'm realizing you spelled wrong, Wake Forest is going to have to get their bare butt back in balls spanked by the Hokies this upcoming weekend. I'm in Blacksburg, Virginia right now. I drove down last night. We're playing Wake Forest 1 p.m. 2-0 in the ACC incoming, boys. All right.
Hey, I didn't include the graphic, but there is a case for Virginia Tech being number 1 right now, folks. Just saying. Wait, Forest is spelled with one R? Is that what that is?
Yeah, dude. Anyhow, should I
All
get
right,
on?
moving on. Go on to Illinois there, Kev.
Okay. And just for Tyler's awareness, Illinois is spelled with one L. So Illinois is still a
Bullshit. No, you're lying to me about that one. All right, yes.
Illinois,
Go ahead.
they licked their wounds and they got after what I do think is still a good USC team. Yeah, that was an impressive game.
That was the walk-off field goal to win, correct?
Yes, it was. And
yes,
I mean, if we're just doing some math, which I'm sure any big college football fans have already seen the graphic, Hokies beat NC State, UVA, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia. Hokies better than Georgia, of course. But let's do another graph right now.
My God, you memorized it.
We'll do I created it. We'll do another graph that is okay, Illinois. So Indiana beats Illinois. Illinois beats Duke. Duke just beat the crap out of Syracuse, who just beat Clemson by more than one score, I believe. So there is some crazy college football math, like transitive property going on. And I'm here for it. Dang, Tyler, I guess you skipped ahead, so you get the big one? Okay.
Dude, I'm on my game tonight. No, okay. Well, we both got to talk about this because you just kind of alluded to what I texted you on Saturday, Kev. This week recap was just the ACC collapsing in on itself, kind of. And that started with FSU losing to UVA. I mean, but what a game, man. Oh, my God. I think that FSU player's dead, honestly.
Yeah, that was, imagine if there had been like offsides or something thrown on that play. They wouldn't have noticed it, if they're
not at all.
Or if like they're
if you're a ref at that point, you say, I'm cutting my losses. The game's over.
You say, never mind, the game is over.
Yeah, never mind. And also I gotta say, Kev, as both of us being football fans, adult football fans, those guys who were on the field, like going right up to Castellanos and filming themselves, like flipping him off. Come on, dude. Like, I get competition, but like, I don't know. It's a bad look to me. You got anything to say about that?
It's going to be tough for me to sit here and defend UVA fans, but as somebody who is, for the last two times the Hokies have played in Charlottesville, I've gone to that game. Hokies have won. Hokie fans stormed the field. I know other teams stormed the field on UVA in Scott Stadium. I think this was it was a cathartic release. I don't know if I used that word right.
Okay.
But cathartic, I think there was just a lot. So look, I'll let that slide. Of course, it's not very classy. Coming from the school that's all class. UVA.
All class.
Yeah, cue the Colin Cowherd rant, which we will play later this fall.
I love that.
But yeah, no, I give them a pass for that. They, like I said, they'd been the whipping post in their home stadium before. It's time
That's a tough spot to be in. It is. I agree with you.
So that, but yeah, it's still a bad look, but it passes my smell test.
Fair enough. Kev, I'm gonna let you talk about it. Fernando.
Both of us thought Indiana was going to run away with it. Both of us were wrong. History stayed the same in this game. Going into Kinnick Stadium is hell. And it played the same in the Penn State Oregon game. Penn State can't win the big one at home. So it was also, and then I guess same with Bama, which I'm definitely covering a few other points here, but it's just, there are some things that don't change, and those were three things that stayed the same. Kinnick Stadium, so hard to play in. Penn State can't win the big one. Yeah, what do you say, Bama still?
And then right, and I also have to say that Iowa did exactly what we talked about they would need to do in order to win that game. They kept it to their pace. They didn't, they were just playing chippy yards at a time. They didn't let Indiana get a hold of the ball for too long. That being said, I do think Fernando Mendoza heard the two of us talking last week when we said, and not insultingly, that he thrives in those short pass options and, he doesn't make any flashy plays. Kev, he had some bombs he was making out there on Saturday. I think he had three receivers that were for over 20 yards on average. Omar Cooper Jr., Elijah Sherratt, and EJ Williams. He was connecting with all of his guys. Again, just points to what we were talking about, how Indiana has a path towards this Big Ten championships, and I don't have an argument against it right now.
I mean, they control their own destiny, and to not bury the lead, I think Fernando Mendoza, that name, it sounds like a Heisman winner. Sounds like Marcus Mariota. It just has that ring 100%. To it where
that's a football guy name right there. Yeah.
This is a game that you have to get through, and he got through. Nobody comes out of this game against Iowa clean.
Nope.
So but he came through with a win. Didn't throw 8 interceptions. Like you said, he had some explosive plays. Very much in the race there.
Very much, dude. Winners find ways to win no matter what it takes to get it done. Kevin, in the interest of time, do you mind if I just blitz through these last 4?
Go for it.
I know we got a lot. All right. Look, Mississippi State held it in until the very end there with Tennessee. And after the season that Mississippi State is having, I think they're still a great program who's going to do a lot of great things before the end of the year. But it's just tough to see it end that way. But I think they still can control their destiny to get at least a good bowl game under their match. A CFB playoff spot is going to be tough for them at this point. Ohio State. Washington is a good team, is what I found from this first half. At least they held them to only 3 points in that first half there. And then I don't know what Ryan Day did in the locker room. Ryan Day doing something unethical? Nah. And so
no, he just replaced his nipple ring, I believe.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
Okay. Sorry.
I did. No, we don't. Kev, for future reference, never let me forget about Ryan Day's nipple ring, please.
All right.
Okay. Penn State, Oregon, 2 things became abundantly clear to me. You got to follow the trends when you're betting. James Franklin's woes are just never going to end. And I think Penn State is in purgatory right now. And Dante Moore, this was his first start in a hostile environment, which is the Penn State whiteout. Man, that guy was locked in. He did not let it get to him at any point in the game. And for being the first, sky's the limit. I'm putting it at the end of this episode. I think we're going to talk about the Heisman this Sunday. And if we don't, you guys can unsubscribe. But when we talk about that on Sunday, you guys are going to hear I'm just high on him. And then, Bama is still UGA's older brother, both by Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban. Kirby Smart might as well wear one of those little backpacks with his shirt tucked in and spinny cap next time he goes. There's no other way for me to say it. That's where we are.
Yeah, I have one thing to add, and then we'll get to the actual games. But just to Georgia fans, to Penn State fans, to LSU fans, I'm in your subreddits. It's ridiculous you guys talking about firing your coaches after this week. You don't know how bad it can get as a fan base.
Wait,
you don't understand
all of them?
Yes. There's just been, and to be fair, the majority of the fan base has level heads. They're like, dude, don't be stupid. But this is a warning. You don't understand how bad it can get as a fan base. It can get bad.
There's almost a case to be made for James Franklin, but UGA and LSU? No. Yeah. Sit down. No, come on. Get back to earth with the rest of us.
So with Week 5's recap in the book, we will now be looking ahead to these Week 6 matchups. And as I alluded to, we were blessed last week with just some very eye candy matchups. Not saying these won't deliver, but you can tell by the 4 games we're choosing, these are probably the top 4 games. Maybe you could throw Mississippi State, Texas A&M, but with
Michigan, Wisconsin, maybe, but I agree with you.
Yeah. So we'll real quick at our records. We're hanging in there. That's not important. We got Vandy, Alabama.
Alive.
We got UVA, Louisville. We got Texas Tech at Houston. And we got what could have been Miami at Florida State. Could have been game day. We'll get to that, shall we?
All right. Yes, sir. All right. Kev, starting off, we got obviously the SEC matchup of the week, Vandy at Alabama. Let me start by correcting myself from last week. I realized I said that Ty Simpson used to play at Boston College. I was incorrect. He has been there the whole time. It was a Freudian slip. I was thinking of Tommy Castellanos from Florida State. That's my bad. The other thing, why is this spread this high? Somebody has to explain that to me based on the schedules that both of these programs have played and just overall performance. If I was going to be making it, I would say 6.5 is probably more appropriate. I think they're giving us a couple extra points that we don't need. I don't know. Where's your head at with this one, Kev?
You think this is revenge game for Alabama at home, and it certainly is. I mean,
right.
This is Alabama next week has Missouri, so they're certainly not going to be looking ahead. They're not going to be overlooking this one. I think that 10 points is just the wrath of the Crimson Tide is where that line ended up. But I agree, especially when I was looking back at Vanderbilt's this year and last year. Well, I guess they have no losses this year, but also last year, I think their biggest loss was like maybe 12 points at the end of the season against Tennessee.
Yeah,
so they don't lose,
right.
They have that just their offense, like 1,000 cuts, like they're not the team to get blown out. And hopefully that doesn't happen but yeah, I'm on the same page with you with that spread.
Yeah, and I also got to say this, Diego Pavia, that kid's making a good name for himself in that Vanderbilt program. Also last year, and when they were playing against ranked opponents, their against the spread record was 3-1-0 since he started. So that's phenomenal right there. Kev, I want to get into some numbers real quick. Also, with Pavia, that kid is leading Vanderbilt's rush yards currently. He's got 2 rush touchdowns, 294 yards rush, over 48 attempts. So this kid's mobile, right? It's not something we're used to seeing in a big SEC matchup like this, especially in recent years. He is also a first half quarterback. 899 yards have been accumulated from his passing percentage in the first half and 312 in the second. Worth noting with their past opponents, that might have something to do with just letting off the gas in the second half, but it does note that he comes out of the gate firing, and I think based on the tempo that we saw Alabama playing at last week, a little bit more of that reserved Kalen DeBoer style, that it could be an opportunity for Diego Pavia to put some points on the board early, see what he can work with.
Yeah, and so agree with you on all fronts there, except I will say in the Virginia Tech game, the Hokies were up 20-10 at halftime. That was a game. I mean, I don't know the stats. I don't know, how many passing yards Pavlia had in the second half. Definitely didn't say his name right there, but I'll get into
I am going off of teamrankings.com. So if I'm wrong, somebody can double check me. No, but also, like you said, Kev, this is a rematch of last year, and it was the exact same situation coming off the Magnolia Bowl, where Bama won against Georgia. Same coaches, different QB on Bama side, same QB on the Vanderbilt side. Not much has changed, and again, Brian Williams was still on the team with Bama last year, so yeah. And I'm also, I saw today on ESPN's power rankings for quarterbacks, Diego Pavia was ranked number 2, but he was for the Heisman race. So, yeah.
I mean, let's not pretend if Vanderbilt goes in here and gets the win, I mean, he doesn't essentially control his own destiny to that Heisman trophy, much less a Vanderbilt college football playoff berth. What I do have
Wouldn't that be something?
I mean, yeah, to tell that to the young boy in me last year who was in Nashville ready to see the Hokies start their college football playoff run, and it got short by the evil Commodores. Just a couple stats on my end, and Vanderbilt, their PFF rankings, the one gaping hole they have is in their pass block. They're 51% rated.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the reason why that might not be as bad of a weakness as you'd think is Alabama's pass rush is only 62 graded. That's one of their lowest abilities. Both these teams also have a bad run block rating. So, when we think about over under, and I believe neither of us picked it, but a sneaky under might be the call here. Let's see. Anything else you have to add before we?
No, let's get into it, man.
Okay.
I'll reveal it, and I'll reveal mine too. Yeah, because we're in sync. I mean,
give me Vandy covering. What's the term? They're covering up my back door. I don't think they're gonna win, but is that the right?
No, and that's definitely not the term.
I'm covering up my back door for these Commodores. I'm covering up my back Commodore. But yeah, I think Alabama's going to win, but I don't think they're going to run away with it. Thank you, Tyler.
No, I agree with you. I could see this. And, look, if it does come down to it, then we'll see. I would love to live in a world where Vanderbilt is beating Alabama because it just flip-flops everything from 5 years ago, and I'm here for it. All right, next up. We got the ACC matchup of the week. Never mind. It's not Miami at FSU like I thought it was. No.
Here we are. No, this isn't a semifinal matchup in the ACC men's basketball tournament. This is an early October showdown between two undefeated ACC football programs, undefeated in the ACC. Let's get two things out of the way first. UVA lost to NC State 35-31 earlier this year in an in-conference, non-conference game. So, yes, technically, they're still 2-0 in the ACC. It's dumb, but let's move on. Secondly, I don't hate UVA football. I hate their basketball team and have a few choice words for Thomas Jefferson. But all in all, their football program isn't hurting anybody. As long as you're not the number 8 ranked team in the nation with a quarterback who has never won a game in the state of Virginia, then those pesky Cindy Lou Who's will cost you college game day against Miami.
God, that was beautiful. No, okay, Kev. Obviously, everybody's going to be flying high on UVA after last week, and rightfully so, rightfully not so much. I think ACC is always due for one of those Friday night, hey, you shouldn't have won it, but now you've won it kind of matchups, and that's where Virginia was at. What I can say is this is also one of those matchups where Vegas and the AP polls aren't aligned, you know what I mean? And we've been getting that so much this year, and honestly, it's kind of just hurting my brain trying to keep up with it. Here's what I will say about this one. So Virginia came in last week, and they won a game that they weren't supposed to against FSU, which is great. However, Chandler Morris was throwing a lot that game, and he made some decent mistakes when he would get out of that pocket with throwing 2 interceptions.
Yes.
One stat that I do want to bring up here, I just started writing down, and this was like an hour ago, so it's still fresh in my mind, some notable stats. Lousiville is bad at rushing. They're just a bad at rushing team. Number 110 in rush per play percentage at 44.71, ranked 116th in yards per rush at 3.1, and ranked 112th in rush yards per game at 97.3. However, they are an elite team when it comes to pass blocking. They are number 1 in opponent interceptions thrown at 7.14%. Granted, what we know Chandler Morris's play style is of just throwing that rock around, shooting first, asking questions later. That's going to be a lethal, bad matchup for UVA, okay?
And could I chime in to back up that stat there? Yeah. So, again, that's 7% interception rate. That means so Louisville has, as a team, their opponents have thrown the ball 98 times. They've forced 6 interceptions in those 98 throws. So that's that 7% there.
Yeah.
To bat, 11 of Chandler Morris's 21 career INTs have been on the road. And So you'd think that's about half and half home versus away, but he's thrown almost double as many passes at home as he has on the
Yep.
road. So his INT rate is way up on the road. Yeah. So continue.
He's had a career, hasn't he? UNT, or no, he started at TCU, then to UNT, then to Virginia. Very, very wacky. Now, what else did I have here? Oh yeah, Jeff Brom starting out hot in Louisville. This is the second time they're coming 4-0 to start the season. And the one thing I will say, there are still some health questions for their star running back duo right there with Isaac Brown and Duke Watson. They might start. I'm hearing rumblings both this way and that way. No confirmed. Could be a reason why their rushing percentage is as low as it is right now over 4 games. If they're healthy, I think this next pickup becomes that much easier for me. So, Kev, do you want me to just get into it for you?
Yeah, go ahead, click mine.
Right.
I'll back myself up here. So I do think UVA will cover. I
Okay.
don't necessarily think they will win. Chandler Morse 5-5 as a starter on the road, and he's lost 3 of his last 4. But I think Louisville, they struggle on third down. UVA is pretty good as a defense on third down. But I think with the turnovers that we should expect from UVA, the challenges Louisville will have moving the ball on the ground, like you said, might be exacerbated by that running back issue.
Yes.
I think the over-under is way too high on this one, and it's more just a gut check. UVA keeping it I'll be so mad if it's a 7-point loss for UVA, but I do think it's right around that 7-4-3 range for them.
And then Kevin, I mean, I'm not gonna go over the under. I'm not going to talk about the under anymore because you already hit on every point I wanted to. My thing with picking Louisville here was this is almost like a reverse trap game, so to speak, after what happened last week. You know, I also watched some of Louisville. They did not look good against Pittsburgh. I don't know if you watched any of that game, but they looked sloppy out the
They were
gate
down
to get it going.
17-0, and then Pitt's players stole the ball from the Louisville ball boy, and that just everything changed for the Pitt program after that.
And you know, everything combined, the stats were saying about like how they played offensively to start that game, their health questions at Louisville, Chandler Morris's predicament, like the under's gonna hit. But I'm just gonna stick with the better in me for Virginia falling off after the hype of last week, just because I didn't listen to the better that much last week and it didn't end up as well. So yeah, I'm sticking with Louisville.
All right.
Let's get into it. All right. The
Now,
Big 12 matchup of the week.
Yeah, this one is definitely flying under some people's radars. It's one of the few undefeated matchups in week 6. And there's, I don't know if I call it drama, but Texas Tech's defensive coordinator was Houston's defensive coordinator last year. Houston's defensive coordinator now was the youngest defensive coordinator in FBS football at one time when he was named the Southern Miss defensive coordinator. Then in January 2023, so Houston's defensive coordinator we're talking about, his name, I believe, Austin Armstrong. He was hired in January 2023 by his idol, Nick Saban, as the inside linebackers coach at Alabama. However, this was January 2023. In February 2023, a month later, he burned Nick Saban and took the job as Florida's defensive coordinator before Billy Napier saw what he did for 1 year and decided he's going to bring in a co-defensive coordinator. Armstrong saw the writing on the wall.
Web.
Yeah, Armstrong saw the writing on the wall, got out of there, took this Houston job. This is a game that is here's what I think. It's either going to be a classic or a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a 10-point game.
Kev, that was beautiful again. Don't have that much for this one, Kev. All I can say is Texas Tech looks like the darlings of the Big 12 right now. I think that they control their own destiny, and that's reflected in the odds. Beren Morton's also going to be coming back after that bye week where he was in concussion protocol.
Yes.
Even though, I mean, that backup they had, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Will Hammond. Yeah, incredible.
Will Hammond, thank you very much. Incredible performance in that back half against the Utah team. Houston, I liked what I saw when they were playing against Colorado. I thought that they were a physical team, and I liked how they were playing. That was against Colorado, who has significantly fizzled and fumbled into the Big 12 trenches. The more Dion is coaching over there. And, they do have some cracks, Houston, that is, in their rush defense, where they're ranked 67 in opponent rush yards per game, and number 115th for opponent rushes per game. There is definitely some mismatches just in the overall matchup. And I know that Houston's going to need to find a way to stop Jacoby Williams, currently leading a subpar, because let me back up. Houston is currently leading a subpar opponent rush yards per game of 154 yards at ranked 67 in the country. Jacoby Williams ran up and down the field against Utah, who I think we can both agree is a much better team on paper than Houston. So if the spread was maybe at 14.5, I could see myself taking Houston. But let's get into your pick, Kev, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead and reveal it. I think we do have the same pick for this one. And it's...
Are we?
Look,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also going over just because of I believe Houston likes to run a lot of zone offense.
I like that play. I didn't take it, but I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this could be a trap game. I mean, we just saw what happened with Florida State. And Willie Fritz, the Houston coach, he's close to getting it right. Last year, even though I think the Cougars went 4-8, they beat number 17 Kansas State at home 24-19. However, earlier in the season, they lost to a ranked Iowa State team 0-20. So, don't be surprised if Houston pulls off this one or, pulls off some other big upsets down the road. It'd be tough for me to bet against Texas Tech like we did in the Utah game and then just have Texas Tech
fool me once, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. If Texas Tech doesn't help us out on this one, then I think they're just enemies of the program. No, but yeah, everything you just said, Kev, and it's also worth noting, Houston, yeah, like you said, they look good, but they're also still a young program in the Power Four. So, let's keep building it. I like what Willie Fritz is doing, and I think they got a good program, just like I said, Wake Forest does. But I just don't think it's in this game. So, with that said, let's get to our final pick, the ACC matchup of the week. We got Miami at Florida State. Miami, those Hurricanes will be driving how long is it? 8 hours, if you can believe that.
It's crazy, yes.
Wait. Yeah, right? Okay. I don't know.
It's not 8 hours.
Yes, it is. No, it is.
It's
no, it is.
Hours.
I looked on Google Maps today. It is an 8-hour drive from Miami to Tallahassee, from the beaches to the swamps here. Yeah. And we get a Florida State team who is hungry to prove that they are not the ACC team who loses to UVA, and the Miami team who is helping Carson Beck get over his ex-girlfriend who he cheated on with a perfect record and a perfect ranking. Kev, start us off.
You talk about a hard game to pick.
Yep.
Every fiber of my being wants to pull for Florida State in this one. Just the turnaround story. You think after a real punch in the ball bag that they got on Friday, you got to think they came to practice with a chip on their shoulder.
Yep.
But we did this before. We did this with USF coming in with some swagger, thinking they were going to give Miami some what for, and Miami beat the brakes off them. However, this Miami team, they showed some weakness in that game against Florida. No, their defense did not show any defense or weakness, but their offense sputtered. I think Carson Beck threw a couple interceptions, maybe. Florida State has the blueprint to beat them. Also, they haven't played on the road yet, have they? This is either their first away game or maybe there's no way they played away at UC.
I don't think they would have played away against Notre Dame, USF, and Florida. Who else did that I have this far?
There's like
But it's not a big enough name
yeah.
that they would have gone out of town for. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
But the
So
one
yes, this is
counterpoint is Carson Beck has played in hostile environments before.
true. He has.
Yeah, this game, I mean, I don't really have much in terms of stats. This was just me
I got a
thinking through how
few.
I feel. So I'll turn it over to you on the stats. We'll get out of my feels.
I like that. Well, I'm gonna end this on my feels, but I'll start with numbers here.
Yes.
So UVA rush yards against FSU, and I should have brought this one back, was 229. That is a far cry from what FSU usually allows. Right now their average is at 113.7 rush yards per game, ranked number 32. So they definitely were dealing with some issues as far as the defensive line goes and maybe those edge rushers, because they just let rushes keep slipping by them. I think that that's a problem that they can hopefully easily correct. Looking at the numbers for FSU's defense also shows that they do force QBs to make throws that are very unsuccessful, meaning that they, outside of last week, the rushes, they're able to make that pocket collapse relatively quickly and efficiently. The numbers to back that up are their opponent's pass play percentage is 51.83%. That ranks them at 100 in the country, which is not great. But then you look at the numbers when it comes to their opponent completion percentage of 58.49 at number 30, means that they have good coverage in that backfield when it comes to, the secondaries being man-to-man up against all their receivers. Now, looking at some other things I wanted to point out, Carson Beck does not rush. He doesn't want to. He can't be bothered. He's like Tom Brady. Right now, 0 fumbles and 0 rushing yards. Compare that to Mr. Tommy Castellanos, whom, has a mouth on him, like we know. Can back it up, can't back it up. He has 217 rushing yards with a 5.3 yard per attempt with rushes. Okay, so he knows how to put his body first. He's a little bit more reckless, a little bit more chippy than Carson Beck's play style is. Now, all I'm going to say to end this off, Kev, FSU started the season winning a game they shouldn't have. Last week, they lost a game that they shouldn't have. So now, this week, they're put in that unique position where they need to either win this game and convince us that they're not just the 2-10 team who's coming back to be a mild contender and maybe rebuilding, but that this is actually a statement year for them and that they took advantage of the transfer portal and NIL structure and actually made a comeback story. So and looking at Miami at the rest of their schedule throughout the season, they got a clear path to the ACC championships. One loss is not taking them away from it.
That's not true. They have to play for Tech in Blacksburg.
Yeah, so like I was saying, they have a clear path to the ACC championships. All right, we're going to continue as a bit until we die, I guess. But they can have that one loss on the record and still get into the playoffs. FSU is fighting to stay afloat and to make a statement. And Kev, we'll start with you.
Miami money line.
Yep.
Look, Miami's my Uncle Bobby's team. I picked against them too many times. He is my godfather. I think their athletes are just too good. I think Florida State's hurt. That's all I got.
Yep. I'm listening to the better in me, and I'm listening to the vibes. Not gonna lie, yeah. Again, Kev, Miami might win this. Seems like a reverse trap spot almost. Again, this week I'm listening to the better in me. I'm going back to the 101 of gambling here. All right. So we're gonna edit out these confidence levels, folks, maybe. And I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay.
It's midnight here.
Hold on.
We're gonna.
It is. It's midnight. We're doing this late. Kev, talk about your parlay, please. And I'm
gonna talk about my parlay that has not been updated yet. So I'm just gonna read it off. So pay no attention to what you see on the screen.
I'll edit this in post. Okay.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna talk through it. I've seen the analytics. Nobody makes it this far in the video. But if you do, you could cash in on a 3-leg parlay that gets you paid.
That is true. That is true.
What I have Iowa State with an alt spread 4.5. Iowa State plus 4.5 on the road versus Cincinnati. Another crazy game where Cincinnati is the favorite against a ranked team. So that 4.5 spread will get you minus 191 odds. Then Maryland, undefeated still, they are at home against Washington, and they are an underdog, a near 7-point underdog. So give me plus 9.5 for Maryland to cover, minus 163 parlay. Then give me Duke on the road versus Cal, just money line for that. And you got minus 148. Put them all together, 308. My bonus, Yuri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. I think that goes over 1.5 rounds at UFC 320, only on pay-per-view this Saturday. That's minus 154. That'll bring the whole parlay to 573.
We love that. All right. Kev, Michigan minus 13.5, old spread versus Wisconsin. I think Michigan might run it up by 50 on them. Clemson at UNC, my God, I just think it's going to be so terrible of a game, and they put it at 46.5 that I just think something crazy is going to happen. Like, that seems like a no-brainer to me. Syracuse, comeback spot against SMU. I just took the straight-up spread, plus 17.5. I've seen SMU play, and I think that if Syracuse goes back to what they were in Week 5, that's an easy pick. So that would bring your total parlay up to plus 464 if you wanted to trail those picks. My bonus pick is going to be for San Francisco at LA Rams, Puka Nacua, anytime touchdown scorer. I'm just going on odds on that one, and it's a vibe check, to be honest with you. Brings the altogether parlay to plus 1,001. Now let's get to Mr. Jared, who, if both of these picks are correct, has agreed to come on and show his beautiful face for a guest spot on the recap show. Okay. He is saying for New England at Buffalo, Stephon Diggs, 70 or more receiving yards, or Hunter Henry, anytime touchdown scorer. I will say that he says Stephon Diggs, 70 plus yards is going to be his lock. And then his kind of teaser he'll see is going to be Hunter Henry. All right. So if our boy gets both of those right, he's going to be on the show. All right. Now, I want to explain to you guys how I'm going to be watching these games. All right. We got a lot of games, and a lot of them we don't always get to talk to. So I wanted to briefly just say the 12 o'clock slate, 4 quad TVs. I'm going to be rocking Cincinnati, Iowa State. Wow, how did I just blank on that? And even though it is the battle of the 2025 disappointments, I'm going to be watching Clemson and UNC, Kansas State at Baylor. I think that can help us see kind of the background of the Big 12. Wake Forest versus Virginia Tech is also going to be going. Obviously, I'm watching that. And then, no, wait, Kev, I said I would explain this to you.
Hold on, I would also like
Yes,
Wake Forest Virginia Tech game starts at 1. Dumbass.
Okay.
Oh, beep.
Rude.
All right,
no, you don't need to beep that, I don't think. But no, I wanted to bring up Michigan and Wisconsin because this is the big noon kickoff game, and it's kind of ridiculous to me when it's so easily spotted the politics of why they pick these places. Big noon kickoff has Dave Portnoy for Barstool, who's second biggest guy. Dave Portnoy went to Michigan, and their second biggest guy is Big Cat, who went to Wisconsin. Hey, and now what? And it's not the best game by a mile. And look, it's politics to me. So that's why I'm going to be flipping to it to see if my bet's keeping up. But the fact that it's big noon kickoff, it shouldn't be. All right. 3:30 game slot, afternoon game slot, whatever you want to call it. We got Vandy Bama. Obviously, we're going to be watching that along with UVA Louisville, Washington and Maryland. I have that one circled on my board because Washington is only 5.5-point favorites after that performance they had with Ohio State. Give me Washington to cover easily. Syracuse at SMU. I already talked about how I believe Syracuse is in a bounce back spot with 17.5 points. That's going to be fun to watch. And then the night games, obviously, Kev and I are both going to be watching the Big 12 and ACC matchups we already talked about. But then Mississippi State, A&M, that's going to be a real fun one, I think. And then another Big 12 background game is going to be Kansas at UCF. So that's what my entire day is going to look like. My quad box, thanks YouTube TV for allowing the multi-view. It saved me and Kev's Sundays and Saturdays multiple times. I'm just so excited for more football, and I love this season. Kev, any last words?
I'll be keeping up with the games on the big screen at Lane Stadium, at least from 1 till 4:30, because I will be watching the Hokies go 2-0 in the ACC. I hope. Fingers crossed. All love to Wake Forest, but I think we got it. All right.
There you go. Yeah, we have a thing. Kev's now been promoted to infield reporter, and I'm analytics. All right, folks. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday.
Thank y'all.
Peace.